personal favorite thing ever. So if you've ever, with your channel locks pulled up over here, if you've ever looked down and be like, what the heck is this little menu that says display? Basically, you can more or less make layers with your objects, kind of like you can in Photoshop. And it's really nice, especially if you're working with like rigs or like a bunch of complex stuff. More complex scenes are more helpful for us. So I'm just going to select this object and say maybe I want this in its own little, in its own layer. So there's two buttons over here that'll create layers. This one with the little plus is just going to make an empty layer. This one with the little blue circle is going to make a layer with whatever objects you've selected already in that layer. So in that case, I'm just going to hit that and call this spike sphere lay. And this does not like spaces, and it won't let you rename, like it's not going to let you name something that you've named. If you had something called like cube anywhere in your scene, you can't name that layer cube. You'd have to name like cube lay or like cube 2 or whatever, which is why I said lay. So you're gonna make that. And it is usually, if you get, especially if you get a lot of these, it's good to label them just so you know what the heck they're actually doing or affecting. But this little V here is basically just going to toggle the visibility of whatever is in that layer on and off. If I wanted to, I could add my cylinder, so I'm just going to click on that, right-click on the name of the layer, and do Add Selected Objects. So now if I toggle that layer on and off, you can see it's hiding both of these objects at the same time. So where I really like using this is if you're, say you're adding rivets to something, or like tiny dots or beads, or like something with a crap ton of a lot of like little objects in it. I don't want to necessarily find them all in my scene and click on them manually or find them in my outliner. It's just a really, really easy way to just be like, boop, don't need to look at them right now. It also saves you the effort of like accidentally selecting them. So the other thing that you can do with this, I pretty much ignore whatever this center thing is, to the point where I actually honestly don't remember what it is off the top of my head, because I literally never use it. But the only other thing I really use for display layers frequently is this last button. So by default, this has, it's usually just empty, which basically means you can select your objects, do whatever to them as you normally would. If I set this, if I click it once, it's going to set it to T or template mode. And you can see, so my objects are basically visible in the scene in like this awkward grayed out wireframe. I am unable to select these objects, but I can still sort of see their rough positioning in the scene, which depending on what you're doing is sometimes helpful. I don't use this as much. If you click on this one more time, it's going to take it to R, which is reference. And instead of giving you like that weird awkward wireframe, it shows the actual shaded view of the object. I'm still unable to select the object, but it does display it in my scene, which again, usually I'll use this if I have like so much stuff in my scene and I keep selecting one thing by accident. I'll just like throw it in a layer, reference it so I can still see it, and build around it, just not keep clicking on it every 10 seconds. So any questions on the basic functionality of this? Cool. If you ever need to remove, so if I need to like remove, say the cylinder from this scene, I'll just click on it. Again, I took this off of reference. If it is, you can still click on your stuff in the outliner, by the way, and select it via the outliner, even if it's referenced in a layer. You just can't click on it manually in the scene. But if I wanted to take the cylinder out, I would just take it, again, right-click and do Remove Selected Objects. And you can see that now the cylinder is not included in that layer. If you're ever like me and you're sort of working in a scene or like doing whatever, and you end up with a bunch of extra layers, and you're like, I don't know what these are, they're probably empty, who the heck knows? You can actually just get rid of any empty layers. If you go, so this little layers button right here, just click it and do delete unused layers. And it'll get rid of anything that doesn't have any objects in it. Again, because sometimes you get a lot of them and it just gets messy. That's more or less layers. One thing that I find them really, really helpful for is, again, if you just have like a crap ton of a lot of stuff in your scene that's like just hard to manage and click on. It's also pretty nice for NURBS curves, or like if you're doing NURBS things. So I'm just gonna like really quick make a very, very janky extrude, and I do not expect this to look decent in the slightest. No, okay, that doesn't really look decent. I would, all right, 5 seconds. Dang it, I tried to open the tools for you. Give me the freaking tools. Tube distance at profile at path. All right. That is close enough. All right. So a lot of times, again, I'll use this for like NURBS curve stuff. So I might have a layer for the curves that are actually defining this NURBS surface here. So I'll just be like base curves. So that, and then I can hide that. If I just like, again, so a lot of times I accidentally end up clicking on NURBS and it's like drives me nuts. And then if I wanted to convert this into polys, so just do modify, convert NURBS to polys, close enough. What I might do is then take this NURBS layer here, and a lot of times if I'm just doing like one curve, I'll a lot of times just hide it in the outliner, but sometimes you have like 30 curves in your scene and you're like, well, this is horrible to work with. So I'll just tack all of them in a layer and just call them NURBS. And that way I can very, very easily go through and I can hide that NURBS curve but still see the polygon surface. And if I wanted to, then I could go back in and, you know, reference this NURBS curve, or like what am I doing? Sorry, I could reference the polygons, so I can't select these, and go back in and just sort of modify my curves while still seeing exactly like how that shape of the polygons is wrapping around the rest of my object. And this is deforming terribly because I use some really janky settings, but when the tube is actually like overlapping that curve you make, it's like super nice to be able to have that functionality to like see this but not be able to click on it accidentally. It just saves a little time and annoyance. But again, that's basically display layers. So anyone have any questions about those? All right.